10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Hello and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wak Attack. Today is February 23rd and we're going to get started with the news from yesterday about Agent Provocateur's slashing. So in response to that, Phiz released a tweet thread and he said 226 out of 523,000 validators on the beacon chain have been slashed. This is nothing to lose sleep over. Many slashings have occurred during the failed system migration. Here are 4 emerging best practice tips to avoid this. Number 1, wipe your old staking machine ASAP. Don't reuse the chain data to save time. Reinstall, reformat and reduce the odds that a lingering service will sting you. Use doppelganger detection. I know you want perfect uptime, but it makes sense to look both ways before entering traffic. This is literally what doppelganger protection does for you. It's wise to throw away $6 to save $1,700. It's wise to throw away 6 cents to save $1,700. Slashing costs about 1 ETH. Take your time and act deliberately. Write out a checklist for your process and follow it. Add in lots of 15-minute just wait buffers to become aware of problems. Watch logs and the Beacon Chain website. And 4, if you feel butterflies in your stomach about any action, just step away. Maybe it means unplugging everything before you step back. Take a small loss and come back when you found support and thought it through. Then improve your plan when you're confident. I ought to point out that over 150 of those 226 slashings, I ought to point out that 150 of those slashings were caused by services, not home stakers. So out of the home stakers, out of the 100,000 plus that there are validators on the home stakers, only about 75 have been slashed, which is a very small number, which is absolutely amazing. So that's a really good reminder just to make sure that if you're moving nodes onto a different machine, or if you're, trying to get set up in a different place, then you don't fall victim to the most common kind of slashing, which is the double attestation slashing. So that means you have 2 machines validating using the same keys at the same time. And if they're both validated within one epoch together, then you can get slashed. Another common kind of slashing is when you switch your clients and you don't wait the 15 minutes before you start testing on the new client, because the new client doesn't have a record of what the old client did. So they could both technically attest within the same epoch. So those are the 2 most common types of slashings. As far as I know, there haven't been any malicious slashing so far, and that just goes to show about the security of the Ethereum network, which is absolutely fantastic. So how did the Rocket Pool community respond to the slashing yesterday? Well, there was this really nice thing that Joe did, and he says, had to track this down, but I sent you some RPL. So I shared this post by Agent Provocateur yesterday, who's saying, kind of explaining why they got slashed, how they got slashed, how the team wasn't going to pay for a bug bounty to cover that loss. And then, said that some members were saying about setting up a crowdfund and to donate to this person. Because there is a chance that it wasn't 100% their fault, right? So Joe was very kind and donated some RPL, which was very generous of Joe. And then RPL Maxi set up a POAP and the POAP checkout went live. And then so far we can see that 21 POAPs have been minted. They cost around $10 to $12 each, I think. So there's a nice amount of ETH coming Agent Provocateur's way, and a lot of community team members whose names are quite frequently you see, including myself, minted one of these POAPs to get some ETH to Agent Provocateur. You can see the POAP is live, the POAP is going out, and it's called the Agent Provocateur slashing charity. And let's show you what the POAP itself actually looks like. Hold on a second. That's what the POAP looks like. And then this is charity POAP for Agent Provocateur, after having 2 mini pools slashed. Rocket Pool node operators stand in solidarity. So it's really lovely. And then the description says, after node operator Agent Provocateur had 2 mini pools slashed and lost 2 ETH, the amazing Rocket Pool community came together and donated RPL and ETH. This POAP is distributed to everyone that helped. So basically, you buy the POAP, you give money to Agent Provocateur, which is really awesome. So then then you see the pop-up itself, and then Agent Provocateur says thank you everyone for helping out. This really means a lot to me and further proves how awesome the community is. I'm happy to do whatever you all think is best if there is an overshoot. So the overshoot means that if there's more ETH and RPL donated than the amount that was slashed and lost, I think it worked out to be like 2.2 ETH, something along those numbers in total, with the leaking as well. I'm not sure if we'll reach that amount, but hey, any amount is nice to help Agent Provocateur on their way. Okay, moving on now, we have this update from Joe overnight. He says the patch notes are done. Want to see a preview? It's 5 a.m. and I'm going to go out and snowblow, so why not? Merry Christmas, everybody. So let's have a look at the patch notes. So these are the patch notes for Rocket Pool version 1.9.0 beta 1. It says new features, support for the Atlas protocol upgrade, which includes mini pools that are only 8 ETH bond instead of 16 LEB8s, migration of existing 16 ETH mini pools to LEB8s requires Atlas, migration of existing solo validators directly into mini pools without exiting requires Atlas. So with all of these, you should only, like, some of those features I think will only unlock after after Atlas contracts go live on mainnet, which will probably be about a month to 6 weeks away. There's support for ETH withdrawals and reward skimming, and that requires Shanghai and Capella. And then there's support for the Zhejiang testnet, which has been upgraded already to Shanghai, Capella, and Atlas. And then there's support for splitting client mode for Nimbus, which means Nimbus can now be used as fallback. It can be used as fallback, and also support for Lodestar consensus client. And then what happened to version 1.8? It got skipped because of the timing stuff. And then there's full release notes. There's client updates. So gETH is updated to version 1.11.2. Nethermind is updated to 1.17.0. Lighthouse is updated to version 3.5. Lodestar is version 1.4.3. Nimbus version 23.2.0. Prism version 3.2.1. Teku to version 23.2.0. And then there's updates to Grafana, which we talked about a few weeks ago. And there's also update to Prometheus. And this is warning note. Besu has been unintentionally held back from this latest version due to some issues with smart node interactions. Please do not upgrade to Besu version 23.1.0 for the time being. I guess there'll be a version 1.9.1 that will come out with Besu stuff. And it says gETH changes. gETH service config to UI now has a checkbox enabled for use of Pebble, which is a new database management system, and that will help with sync times, general performance. And I think it's Joseph's here. If you want to use Pebble, you must resync after checking this box. And then there's the information about how you will need to resync your database, which might take some time. I guess you can use a checkpoint sync, but I don't know how that will work, so ask in support if you need help. And then Nimbus change, it says this version includes support split mode. Lodestar is now supported in consensus clients of choice, so I'm going to be changing to Lodestar when I get the chance. And then there's a new dashboard, which information about what's included in the dashboard. And it says this was a labor of love with lots of help from Fornax. Be sure to give him thanks as well. So thank you so much, Fornax, for all your hard work on this. Wonderful stuff. And then the smart node daemon changes. And then there's new mini pool subcommands about setting withdrawal credentials, importing keys, promoting, I guess. You can read all the descriptions of all of these. So there's a whole lot of updates in there. I'm sorry, I'm kind of like glossing over the rest of them, but there's a whole lot of updates in there. So definitely give those notes a read because they're really detailed and really informative. So I'm really excited about getting version 1.9 now. I think it's going to be here in a matter of days, hopefully. The beta I think should be here any day now, and mainnet release will be maybe in a few weeks. I'm not sure exactly when. So that's really exciting. Next, we have this comment from Jasper. He says, oh snap, it looks like Curve has started to flow for the rETH version 2 pool on Curve Finance. The new pool is more suited to floating LSTs, liquid staking tokens like rETH and CBETH, because they appreciate in price, they don't rebase. And thankfully that the Curve ecosystem is adopting rETH, and special shout out to new Mitch Will for support. and then there's a screenshot for the Curve factory, and it says rocket pool rETH/ETH. That's the pool, and then the factory. So this I'll talk about this more in a second. And it says the rewards are 50% to 126% using Curve incentives, and the base rewards are 0.21%. So there's a whole lot of rewards being pushed towards this pool right now. They really are bootstrapping liquidity. So before we carry on with talking about that, it's really interesting that this is happening now, because about a year ago, we as a community asked Curve to set up this factory pool for us that adopts the price based on the appreciation of rETH, and they wouldn't do it at the time. So it took them 11 months basically to do it for us. Instead, we had to make the rETH WSTETH, the wrapped STETH pair instead, because they have that peg that they basically appreciate at pretty much the same rate. But it's really great that Curve is doing this, and not only that, but they're throwing a whole lot of rewards to this. So then there was some discussion in trading about this, and and then this Curve Jasper says this Curve pool will solidify the premium a bit. Lol. So it looks like there's going to be a premium on the secondary market until we finish, until we get to Atlas pretty much. And then people were talking about, like, non-fungible Yokum was saying, damn, that pool already has 9.6 million USDs worth of rETH in it, and it's only 10 days old. And it just shows that there's amazing adoption for that. Jasper says, me thinks some Curve OGs are fans of Rocket Pool. We had pretty much zero role in the rollout. They did it all by themselves. And then non-fungible Yokum says, are they fishing for some IMC bribes or both? And Jasper says they haven't asked for any co-incentives or anything. In fact, we've been pretty clear in not wanting to throw incentives their way. Lol. So it's really cool that they are putting this together, and that it's working out so well for them. So I'm really happy to see that. So thanks, Jasper, for sharing that information. Okay, next we have some more information from Jasper as well. He says the MakerDAO executive spell to increase the rETH debt ceiling, as well as lower the stability fee 66% down to 0.5% per year is now live. So if you're a Maker delegate, I urge you to support the Rocket Pool community and encourage safe collateral for DAI. So this is an absolutely amazing development. MakerDAO are very, very slow moving in their DAO. So the process has, I think, the 3 votes along the way. So this won't happen overnight, right? It's going to take another few weeks, maybe even a month or more to get all this done. But what this means is you will be able to deposit your rETH, and you will be able to there's more space now for the to mint more to deposit more rETH, because the ceiling is changing, and then the stability fee is going down by 66%. So instead of paying 1.5% interest per year, you now only be paying 0.5% interest per year, which is an absolutely phenomenal interest rate for this kind of loan. So I think it's amazing that Maker are doing this. I think it's going to really help rETH TVL on Maker, because it's just going to become a much more attractive proposition. I think the real time that this is going to be used and utilized is when people use the deposit their rETH to try to fold it in a limited way as much as you can with Maker, because there's liquidation risk, of course, because you don't get ETH in return, you get DAI in return. So you can only do it up to 2x basically, which is risky because you have a liquidation price, right? But as signs of a bull market coming back starts to happen, maybe in the next few months, a year, maybe something like that, I think we'll see the adoption of this pool go up a lot. And the reason for that is because people will be more willing to lock up their rETH in order to borrow DAI and then use that to mint more rETH and kind of do it a couple of times, but not in the same way that you can do with folding. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that pool gains adoption once I think the main thing is here is a 0.5% interest rate, which is absolutely amazing. So that's the thing that differentiates from Aave. I think Aave will have a variable interest rate that goes up and down depending on market demand. So that's definitely something to look out for. Okay, next we had this really interesting piece of information that came through. So a few weeks ago, we talked about 1KX, which was an investment / something kind of fund that was that was going to set up mini pools on behalf of their service, behalf of their customers, maybe some kind of staking service that was using Rocket Pool. We talked about Rocket Luke shared some information about 1KX, and I think they had like a few 100,000 RPL. Well, it seems like they've started staking now because there's ETH, and the RPL was coming from them, and then now the ETH has started. So far they've spun up 2 nodes. They have one node here which has 39,000 RPL in it, and it has 45 mini pools that started depositing mini pools on the 22nd, and then they put their RPL on there quite a while ago. But yeah, that's happened there. And then they've set up another node as well, which is another 39,000 RPL and another 45 mini pools as well. So they are definitely getting into the staking game now. So it seems like they're breaking up their node into they're breaking up their stake into smaller nodes. This is something that we have to be careful about because of the voting power that they'll kind of they have an outsized voting power compared to the amount of RPL they'll have staked by dividing it across multiple nodes. This is one of the reasons why we should have like a proportional proportional RPL voting on snapshot votes instead of the square root way that we do it, because you can game it by this. I'm not accusing 1KX of trying to game the voting, but this is just like a byproduct of that. They could be doing it, just to keep their node safe. If one goes down, then their whole stake hasn't gone down. So yeah, like they're staking, and it looks like they're going to be staking a lot more, maybe potentially. So that's really cool to see. Okay, next we have this a response from Matt Kunke, who was talking to Jasper in the research thread about Jasper's paper. Matt was saying that he's finally getting around to reading it. Jasper's, why Paradigm was wrong and why rETH will overtake STETH. So Matt had some feedback from him. He says it's very good. The only thing that I think stuck out was a disagreement with me as related to centralized exchange access points, ignoring potential regulatory issues and Kraken developments, as that's still unclear in my opinion. This may also not be a disagreement at all, as I think you may have just been starting from the starting point of focusing within LSD's DeFi native to folks specifically, but basically just your comment on folks gravitating to the most decentralized provider in the absence of incentives. I generally agree with that. If we were speaking about people really in crypto, I think there is still massively large opportunity for the Coinbases and other centralized providers to onboard the folks that just buy crypto and don't use non-custodial solutions. A huge market that frankly Rocket Pool Lido can't compete with really, in the absence of getting rETH, WSTETH listed on the centralized exchange. I do think that LSD tokens are rather useless, as the people that know enough to be participating in DeFi shouldn't be using these tokens in the first place. Yes, after Shanghai being great reason to trade them pre-Shanghai. So if that was your point on cbETH strictly as an LSD, I can live with that. But they have a pretty massive edge in capturing the most retail, least sophisticated users. It says overall very good and thorough. I even shared it with the Fed's only 2 dedicated crypto hires as recommended reading after they were asking me about power dynamics in Ethereum staking. TradFired will like the risk mitigation narrative at the heart of the Rocket Pool story. So this was one of the points that I found really fascinating in here, is that Matt shared the Jasper's article with employees at the Federal Reserve working on crypto. So I feel that's really interesting that the Fed's 2 dedicated crypto hires have now gotten access to this paper. Jasper then came back and had some more comments for Matt. He says, one of the things that was hard for me as an outside observer of Coinbase to understand is what percent of inflows are in cbETH versus a full CB custodial. I get the impression that most growth is on the CB full custodial side, since empirically no one should be minting cbETH. That said, if there's still cbETH growth, then I think that lends credence to retail flows. I'm also unfamiliar with how Coinbase deals with the depeg. Do you inform users that there is an option to potentially make outsized returns through cbETH, assuming it comes back to peg? big. My critique indeed is from a DeFi native perspective. If retail flows for cbETH are strong, then we'll see a nice flow from DeFi savvy arbors to retail without much TVL loss. However, I do expect the outflow to outpace inflow early on. And then Jasper replies to the Fed news by saying, wow, that's an honor. I really hope they enjoy it if they get around to reading it. And Matt says, I agree. I think it's mainly on the custodial side as well. Being in New York, all the staking stuff on exchanges isn't allowed. So I can't even see, given my KYC status on the exchange. I somehow doubt they say that, but unknown. So Matt is an analyst with a crypto firm, and I guess he is starting to get into the rocket pool rabbit hole. So that's really awesome, and I'm glad that you had good feedback for Jasper's paper. Okay, next we had this really interesting development that was shared on Reddit's rETH finance page, where Distant Shores said, soon rocket pool on Dappnode. Source Discord announcement, we are preparing the train for DVT and LSD integration to allow you to work with rocket pool and other technologies right from your Dappnode. Really excited about that. It brings my mini pools goals more in reach. And then Lightfoot says, I found setting up rocket pool mini pools way easier than setting up Dappnode for what it's worth. And then Jasper, a Sikh soldier, says, I believe Mark Zeller of Aave was a big founding driver of the Dappnode integration. And then people were kind of talking about how great it is that rocket pool will be available on Dappnode. So good job. Okay, next I've got a couple of things that are slightly away from the rocket pool ecosystem, but kind of touch in different places. So one of them is this news about Eigenlayer that came through. So Eigenlayer, for those of you who know, is a restaking service, and they had a community call. They released their white paper that we talked about in yesterday's episode, and then they had a community call here that we covered some of their roadmap basically towards the end of the call. And Fuligini gave an update on what happened there. He says that they said that they're going to have a Discord server within 2 weeks, and they'll have a public testnet in Q2, mainnet by Q3. And the first version of the protocol will allow restaking for native ETH stakers and LSDs, while ETH liquidity providing restaking and LSD liquidity providing restaking will come out at a later date. And then you can get the roadmap in the last 3 minutes of this call and get an idea what's going on there. But it's really promising that they're going with LSDs first, and of course it makes the most sense for them to be going with rocket pool for that, because we have the largest cohort of node operators in all of Ethereum under one branch, and it'll be so easy to get access to that through the smart node stack integration with Eigenlayer. It'll be absolutely amazing. Okay, next, the other update we had was this huge one from Coinbase, who says we're excited to announce Build on Base. And Base is an Ethereum layer 2 that offers secure, low-cost, developer-friendly way for everyone anywhere to build decentralized apps. Our goal with Base is to make on-chain the next online and onboard 1+ billion users into the crypto economy. And then they're given information about how Base will not have a token, does not have a token, is not a token. It's just layer 2 where you can go and interact with apps, and ETH will be used as the native gas token forever. And that makes sense from a regulatory perspective. And then they had like a lot more information about what Base is and isn't, and how that's working out. And then they also had this mirror post that goes along there. So, they're kind of pushing the values of decentralization, permissionlessness, really open sourced and all that good stuff, which is really, really fantastic. So they have a path, to how they'll go from protocol to infrastructure, to consumer interface, to apps, and then the apps they hope will get 1 billion users. And then Ryan Berkman's here has an idea of what this means, and he says an attempt at deep strategic answer behind why a Coinbase rollup is a huge deal for Ethereum and ETH, or why Coinbase rollup is the harbinger of many other corporate rollups to come. So in this thread, he gives information about how you'll see threads from lots of other places, maybe even like companies, organizations, maybe even like political things, and how once interoperability between different chains gets much better, then you'll see like a mesh or like a super chain, basically, which is what Coinbase are kind of positioning towards by building on the OP stack. So that was really cool. Okay, next we had this interesting thing that happened in support yesterday. So a user came in saying that they wanted to use the stake.rocketpool.net framework to get out the website, to stake their ETH for rETH. They did a transaction of 1 ETH and that worked. However, when they followed up, the transaction failed, and they had a few transactions failing, and they didn't know what was going on, why they were failing. So people were kind of giving bad information about not being able to stake on the website because the deposit pool is full. However, as we've covered on Rocket Fuel in the past, the deposit pool being full doesn't mean that you can't stake on the Rocket Pool website now, because it will route your transaction through Uniswap or through Balancer, I think, to get the information. So there was some like misinformation that was kind of going around, and some people giving the wrong explanation of what had happened. It seems like Object had talked about this like a little while ago on the 19th, and he says gas simulation on the stake.rocketpool website is broken, and then he links to a link on Etherscan, and he says probably the worst offender, but all transactions made on the site randomly fail because of low gas limits every so often, both on mainnet and on testnet. He says minting rETH on testnet is also pretty bad, and stake of behalf was bad everywhere when it was still enabled. So there seems to be some issues in the back end that are related to gas estimations on that part of the website and on those contracts. So it might be that, those need to be fixed. And then Object says, I think we need to correct the information before we send out bad information on Rocket Fuel. He says you can still stake via the website if the deposit pool is full. It will route your order via Uniswap or Balancer. The issue is the website gas estimation is wrong. So 2 of your transactions ran out of gas. You can fix it by setting a higher gas limit manually or simply using CowSwap. So CowSwap, of course, will also find like the best route for you because it's an aggregator, and also it will avoid you getting to some extent getting MEV'd. So definitely, stake through the Rocket Pool website. It will try to find the best rate available for you, whether that's using the Rocket Pool contracts or whether that's on the secondary market. And yeah, don't be perturbed by that. And then finally, I wanted to give an update for you on this table that Valdorf set up and maintains. Today it was updated to show it's a DeFi opportunities page, Rocket Pool DeFi opportunities, and on here it has information about all the different pools that are available and what kind of rates you can earn on those pools for being a liquidity provider. So it's got Balancer, it's got Beethoven X, and it's got Balancer with Aura and Beethoven X and Aura as well. So there's all these different places, and there's screenshots of yield optimization, what kind of rewards you can get. Currently it's up to like 9-10% on some places, other places a bit lower, but all these numbers can add up. Like, they can get some really, really good returns. Like, for example, this rETH Badger pool has 52% returns. Of course, there's a warning on here, and I always give a warning that please do your own research. This is not financial advice. This is just for educational purposes. So go, if you get rogged or something, please be aware that that's a possibility whenever you're interacting with any of these. Like, the pools can get drained. I'm not trying to further anything like that. It's just the reality of DeFi protocols. You should always be aware that there is a risk of that happening. But this page now gives you the full up-to-date information. I'm linking it in the description of the video below, but also you can find it by doing support template and then use DeFi opportunities, which will bring you to this page as well. So I just wanted to make sure that people were aware that this information was out there. So yeah, check it out and see what opportunities are available there. Just having a quick look at it on the Beethoven rETH IB pair, there's 91% rewards. On the Badger pair, of course, I just mentioned that as well. But on the ETH, rETH wETH, there's up to 15%, 14.5% rewards as well. So I think that's really amazing. Definitely give it a look. Anyway, it's Thursday. It's getting closer to the end of the week. So I'm going to wrap up this episode here today. I'll be back tomorrow with more updates for you all and a weekly recap of the most important stories of the week. I hope you all have a lovely Thursday, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.